Daf Tes Zayin Amud Aleph will begin Tes Vav Amud Beis, 10 lines from the bottom of the two dots. Klis Chuchis. One of the other Gzeras, on the Yudches Gzeras, is Klis Chuchis, glassware. Minatayra, the Torah never mentions glass. Minatayra, a Kli, a vessel, a cup, a glass, is not Makabel Tuma. The Rabbanim Geyser, one of the Yudches Gzeras, is that glassware is also considered a Kli, and is also Mekabel Tuma. So Klis Chuchos, my time ago, Rabbanon Tuma. What was the reason that we're Geyser Tuma on glassware? Since it's made up, it's fashioned from, originally from sand, from chol, so it comes from the earth, it comes from the ground. Shavin Rabbanon ki Kli Cheres. They treated it like a Kli Cheres. A Kli Cheres is earthenware. It's made out of pottery. It comes from the chol, it comes from the ground. It's made out of the earth. Glass, which is made out, comes from the sand, which is similar, comes from the earth. They treated it like a Kli Cheres. Kli Cheres is Mekabel Tuma Deraisa. So glass, which has this similarity that it comes from the sand, they treated it like a Kli Cheres midrabanan. Well, if that's the case, it should have the halachas of earthenware. And just like a Kli Cheres, you cannot be mitared with tefillah. If earthenware becomes tomei, it's the only way to take away the tumah is to break it. Other kalim, metalware, etc., metal kalim, you're toivel. But not Kli Cheres. So if Klis Chuchis has a din of Kli Cheres, it should also not have tefillah b'mikveh. However, we learned in the Mishnah, these are the things that are considered a chatzitza. They interpose, they are considered a separation in the kelim. When you're toivel a kelim, or you're tefillah, you can't have a chatzitza, you can't have a separation between the water and the kli. If you have the pitch and the more in Klis Chuchis, now Klis Chuchis has a smooth surface. Normally, things like dirt, etc., they roll off of it. But these things, the zephes, the pitch and the gum, they're sticky. They stick to the surface. So these are considered to be a chatzitza because they won't on their own fall off, roll off. They stick to it. They're considered as a chatzitza, and it mentions Klis Chuchis. So you see that there is tefillah, that you can have tefillah by Klis Chuchis. Now, if it's considered like Kli Cheres, there should be no tefillah. Really, I'll tell you that normally I would tell you that no, there is no tefillah by glassware. That glassware becomes tomei, it's like a Kli Cheres and it has to be broken. This particular case over here that we're talking about, where you see that there is tefillah, we're talking about a specific case. We're talking where it had a hole and it was plugged up with lead. And we're going, Rab Meir, it's going according to the sheet of Rab Meir, that when you define the classification of a Kli, it's defined about what holds it together, what holds it up. Now, if it has a hole, what puts it together, what holds it together is, now if you fill them together, is with aver, with the lead, it's the lead. And aver is classified as a Kli Matches. So according to Rab Meir, what's mamid the Kli over here, even though it's a Klis Chuchis, it's glass, but what's mamid is what? The aver that you put into it to hold it together, then it's classified like a Kli aver, and therefore in this case there's tefillah. Really, I'll tell you that Klis Chuchis or Rabban were Geyser Tuma, and they gave it a din of a Kli Cheres, and therefore there's no tefillah. Over here, where we're talking, we see that there is tefillah. It's talking in a specific case where it had a hole, it was plugged up with aver, and it's a sheet of Rab Meir that I call holach achar mamid, so it has a din of aver. And you plugged it up with lead. Omar of Shimon Gamil of Rab Meir Metama. Rab Meir is Metama. He says it has a din of a Kli Matches. It has a din of a Kli. V'chachamim Metarim, and the Chachamim is a Metarim. They say that no, we don't say it goes after the Mamid. So the Chacham are Metair because they say once it's broken, it has a din like a Kli Cheres, and it's considered a shever, it's considered broken. And therefore, at start, the Mer says we go after the Mamid, and therefore we consider it to be like a Kli Matches, and it's Mekabel Tumah. If you're telling me that essentially the Kli Zchuchis has a din, you're telling me that the Kli Zchuchis has a din of the Kli Cheres. Now, Kli Cheres is Mekabel Tumah only from the interior, only from the avir, in the interior of the airspace. It doesn't have to touch even. It's just if it's in the interior, within the airspace of the Kli Cheres. But something touching the outside of a Kli Cheres is not Mekabel Tumah. So therefore, El Me'ata, if you're classifying a Kli Zchuchis as Cheres, Lo Letam Migavan, it should not have Tumah from the outside. I Allah Matanan, we learned the Mishnah, Kli Cheres or Kli Neser, Tumosan Shove, if it's a Kli Cheres, earthenware, or Kli Neser, which Rashi says is a type of white earth. It's also considered earthenware. It's called natron. Rashi says it's white earth. Mitama, Tumas and Shama, their Tuma is the same. Mitaminu mitamin ma'avir. They're Mekabel Tuma, and they pass on Tuma from the airspace. So the Kli itself, if Tuma, let's say a sheretz, comes into the airspace of the Kli Cheretz, into the interior, even if it doesn't touch, the Kli becomes Tomei. And it's also matama something else. If something else now, a food item, comes into that Kli Cheres, which previously a sheretz came into the airspace, that food becomes Tomei also, even if it doesn't touch the Kli Cheres. It's me'avir. Umitam me'achareim. And also me'achareim, from the underside. So if you have a becher, if you have a kois, and sometimes you have on the bottom of it, it has a base, a receptacle. If you turn it over, it also has a Kli Kibul. It also has a receptacle. It's also matama from that hollow, from that interior of the underside of the goblet. So it's matama machar ve'ein matama migabeim. But from the outer surface, it's not. Ushvirosa, metarosa. And breaking it, like we said before, the breaking of it, that's what's matar. So it's davke Kli Neser, Kli Cheres, hu de tumas and shava. There it's equal. This is considered earthenware. But other things not, including zchuchis. So you see, zchuchis is not considered like Kli Cheres, and you're telling me that they were goiser and they gave it a din of a Kli Cheres. More answers, Amre, Kevan dechit nishtabru yesh lem takana shavim kli matches. So the Gemara is answering as follows. Essentially, it's treated like a Kli Cheres. Since it's briyasa min achol, it's similar to a Kli Cheres. They gave it din of Kli Cheres. But they also, in a limited way, gave it a din of Kli Matches, of metal. How is that? Because kevan in the shtabro yeshlam takana, a Kli Cheres, if it breaks, then there's nothing you could do with it. You cannot refashion it. Metal, if it breaks, you can melt it down and refashion it and recreate a new Kli out of it, because it melts. Kli Cheres doesn't melt. Zchuchis, even though it essentially is similar to Kli Cheres, because Kliyos Briosin is min achol, from the sand, from the ground, so they treat it like Kli Cheres. But in this respect, it's similar to Matches because it can be melted down and refashioned as a new Kli. So therefore, since it has this similarity to Matches, they gave it also a halacha of a Kli Matches. And therefore, they said that as opposed to a Kli Cheres, which is not metama from the outside, they said a Kli Zchuchis is metama from the outside. So, therefore, essentially, it's like a Kli Cheres, but it has a similarity to a Kli Matches. Frek the Gemara Elamiata, Yasser lo tumas and Yeshana ki Kli Matches. Well, if we're saying that it is similar to Kli Matches, then it should have the halachas of a Kli Matches. And a Kli Matches, a metal Kli, has a specific particular halacha, is that when you refashion it into a Kli, when you make it into a new Kli, if that Kli was Tomei, now when it broke, it was tar, but now when you refashion it and make it into a Kli again, the old Tuma that existed now comes back. And we say it regains that Tuma that it had previously. When it was broken, it became tar. But if you refashion it and make it into a kli, Midrabanan, the Rabbanan were geyser that tuma yeshana, the old tuma that was there previously, it comes back now, and it regains that old tuma. Now, if we're saying that the glassware is like a kli matches, it should also have this halach of tuma yeshana. There's non kli matches, metalware, pshuteim, umekableim, tumeim. If they're a flat surface, they're still makabel tuma. There are other items which, as we'll see, if they're flat, they're not makabel tuma. For instance, a kliates. It's pshute kliates or tor. There's a hekesh to suck. It has to have a receptacle, an interior. It has to have it can't be flat. It has to have a space within. But matchas is different. Pshuteim umekableim tumeim. Whether it's flat or whether it has a receptacle, then it's still makabel tuma. Nishbro tar. If they were broken, they became tar. If it became tar, it broke, then it became tar. If it was refashioned into kalim, then it regains that old tumah. So you see, by matchis, it has this din of tum yishan. Ve'ilu gabe kli zchuchis tanan. However, by glassware we learn kli eitz, ukli or, ukli etzim, ukli zchuchis. Glassware as well, not only wood and leather and bone and zchuchis pshuteim tahirim. We say the pshuteim, if it's a flat surface, if it doesn't have an interior, if it doesn't have a receptacle, they're tahar. Eitz is hukish to sak. They have this hakish to sak, and has to have an interior. Zchuchis is a drabanan. But we say that we give it a din, not of matchis. It's not like metal, where the flat surface, okay, if you have a flat plate made out of metal, it comes into contact with the sheretz, it's tummy. Zchuchis, a flat piece of glass, even if it's a tray, we say a flat piece of glass, pshuteim toharim. Umekableim tmeim, only if it has a receptacle of an interior, it's tummy. Nishbru tar. If it's broken, it's tar. Chazer vas mem kalim mikablam tuma mikanol haba. And if it made kalim into them, it's mikabel tuma mikanol haba. It only is mikabel tuma from here on. Mino kanol haba in lemafrei Elohim. But it's mikanol haba in. It's only from here on in the future. If it now after it's refashioned, then you made it into kalim, and it comes into contact with tuma. From then on, mekanol haba, from the time you refashioned it, it's mekabel tuma. But lemafreya, the old tuma, the tuma yeshana, it does not regain the old tuma. So how do we treat this glassware? Is it treated as metal or as a kli cheres? On the one hand, we're saying we treat it as a kli cheres, and and we treat it like a kli cheres, and we say that pshuteim is tor like a kli cheres, not like metal, which we say, which is flat. Metalware is makabel tuma, and kli zchuchis is not makabel tuma. On the other hand, we say by the kli matches that we say that since if you break it, you can refashion it into a kli, we treat it